first. I would request everybody to please stand up.
जनगणमन जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे सब जय गाथा जय गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे
Thank you. I'd like to firstly thank you all for joining us today to learn about the benefits that the Government of India is extending through the skill development ecosystem. That is the Indian Plumbing Skills Council and its umbrella organization, the National Skill Development Corporation. We're certain that you will find this program extremely beneficial, and our teams will handhold you in effective implementation within your organization as well. Without further ado, I would like to firstly start by introducing our first speaker for the day, Major General T.K. Chadha, Chief Operating Officer of Indian Plumbing Skills Council. Major General T.K. Chadha retired after serving 37 years of active service in the Indian Army. He took part in the 1971 Indo-Pak War in Rajasthan sector. He has held various prestigious command positions and staff appointments at all levels of formation and the headquarters. His last appointment was DG of Mechanized Forces at Army Headquarters, New Delhi. He's been involved with the Skill India mission since 2013. I welcome Major General T.K. Chadha to deliver the opening address.
Thank you very much, Warren. Good morning, respected speakers, special invitees, officials from NSDC, and all the guests. I hope you all are keeping safe during the times of pandemic as we are. I also like to thank Mr. Vinay Gupta, Mr. Vasu Gupta, Mr. Surajit Roy, who has a vast experience in this field when he was with NSDC and also during his tenure with the CREDAI also. All the industry partners, all our training partners, and TPAs on behalf of IPSC for taking your time out and joining this webinar to enlighten all of us with much needed insights about apprenticeship. Apprenticeship, as we all know, has created a lot of work opportunities for the youth of our country. The whole apprenticeship program has not only provided them with a chance to learn while they earn, but also expose them to the latest industry standards. Indian Plumbing Skill Council, as mandated by NSDC and Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, is committed to promote apprenticeship in the plumbing industry and has done numerous successful efforts to place its certified candidates as apprentices in one of the topmost companies of the plumbing sector. It is very important that our training partners, industry partners, and other important associates of IPSC understand more about the apprenticeship program so that the program can be promoted with more power and vigor than before. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we have stepped forward in that direction only, where in this seminar, industry leaders and respected officials from the concerned authorities will throw some light on the implementation of the apprenticeship program for the plumbing industry. With this, I would conclude my welcoming note by wishing you all in advance a happy and safe Deepavali. May the God of light bless you all with health, wealth, and prosperity. Have a safe Diwali, and thank you, each one of you, from the core of my heart. And I welcome you on this webinar today. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, General Chadha, for your opening address. Our next speaker is a technocrat from IIT Delhi and has been manufacturing premium range of tapware in Delhi since the last 35 years. He commenced the first ever production of single lever mixers with ceramic cartridges in the year 1986 in India, and has the distinction of manufacturing them in India and exporting them back to Germany. He's also one of the largest exporters of bathtubs in India, having executed prestigious projects like Trump Tower, Azerbaijan, Sheraton, Dubai, Grand Venice, Macau. His brand is the most preferred choice by leading hospitality players across the globe. He is a founding member of the Indian Plumbing Association and the Indian Plumbing Skills Council. As the Vice Chairman of Indian Plumbing Skills Council, he's been spearheading the development of the robust and sustainable ecosystem of skill development in plumbing with the Government of India. I introduce to you Mr. Vinay Gupta, Vice Chairman of the Indian Plumbing Skills Council and the Managing Director of Bathline India, to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, Varun. And very good morning to all, and wishing everyone and their families, hope they're keeping safe in these tiring times. I would like to start by firstly congratulating IPSC for setting up an advocacy webinar on much needed apprenticeship, and the speakers, Mr. Vasu Sharma and Mr. Surajit Roy. I've known Mr. Surajit Roy personally, and I'm sure he can write thesis on the apprenticeship model. He has done so much of work on it, and he's probably would be, we're too fortunate to have him as a speaker here, and he has solved many problems. You know, there are a lot of benefits in scheme which is going to propose to all the entrepreneurs here, the industries here, to understand how it helps the industry in a very big way. We ourselves have implemented this scheme in our own units, and it has been a great advantage for both the industry and even the apprenticeship who have joined us. We can give you, though it's a new model for India, I can give you a personal example of my own company, where I had taken an apprentice in the year 1987, and today, and he was just joined us as he was as a just a PN offering tea to the staff, but we trained him up. Today he's a commercial manager of a company, and his son is a doctor. So that's what apprentice teaches you. You don't have to be, you know, the industry can teach you a lot. Your boss can teach you a lot. Whether it's a small, medium, or a large organization, this is a very, very much needed apprenticeship model. We all know about the Guru Shishya Parampara, which we have received from our ancestors as one of the important aspects of development. Apprenticeship is the modern age Guru Shishya Parampara, where an apprentice not only learns the skills of the trade from his guru, but also gets the due credit and remuneration. It is pay as you learn. As per the World Bank South Asia Economic Focus during Spring 2018 report, India's working age population, though those above the age of 15, is expanding by approximately 1.3 million a month during 15 to 25. Hence, there is a need to create millions of jobs every year to reap the advantage of this demographic dividend. If you look at the famous German apprenticeship model, then you would know how it helped lower the unemployment. I've personally, the need of the hour is that the same needs to be advocated and implemented in India on a large scale. A lot of people are wary about it. There are issues, there are other things, but when the you know, when you get more of the knowledge on this and how it is implemented, it is a win-win situation for both. The number of apprentices engaged in Germany is approximately 2.5 million, which is about 5% of the workforce of Germany. UK is 0.5 million, which is 1.5%. China is around 20 million, which is 2.5% of the workforce. Whereas in India, the figure is mere 0.3 million. Probably Mr. Surajit Rai would throw more light on it. The numbers would have increased now, but that's just 0.1% of the workforce. These figures show the huge untapped potential that India possesses. In 2019, it was reported by CII that amongst all sectors, the MSME were the largest job creators in the last 4 years and will continue to do so. However, the report also suggested that there was a need for greater handholding of MSME for them to take full advantage of the government initiatives, which we all must know that apprenticeship is mandatory law that needs to be complied with by all establishments. And today we would like to show you all how we can help you in doing so. There has been always the people are wary in the MSME that what would be the government issues, how it will take care. We have implemented this and we have used IPSC, Mr. Pawan, to go to the industry, do a hand holding and start it. And we have already got a lot of companies who have started using the apprenticeship model to their advantage and for the both for the workmen. I would like to conclude with expressing a vote of thanks to Mr. Vasu Sharma, Mr. Surajit Rai, Major General T.K. Chadha, Varun Tandon, industry partners, TPAs, and all present here. Wishing everyone a happy and a very safe Diwali, and hope it should be pollution free and should not add to the pollution of already suffering Delhi. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Vanessa. I can see a lot of our friends from the industry joining us as well today. Thank you, Vanessa, for your address, setting the context very well for today's session. I'm certain that the industry partners will find this extremely valuable. We're being joined by the chairman of Indian Plumbing Skills Council as well, Dr. R.K. Somani. And it's a pleasant coincidence that it is Dr. Somani's birthday as well. So on behalf of the entire ecosystem, sir, we'd like to also wish you a very happy birthday as well.
Thank you so much, Varun, and all the joinees here, including my Vice Chairman. Hi, Surjit, how are you?
Good, sir.
I wish you a very happy birthday.
Thank
Happy
you.
birthday.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today, sir. We're
I
honored
just
to have
happened to
you as a
join.
part of this session as
I
well.
just found 10 minutes time to join. I'm bombarded with phone calls and all, so I have to attend to all that. WhatsApp, SMS, a whole day will go in this only, replying.
It's great to see you here, sir.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. So the 6 building blocks for quality apprenticeships, that's meaningful social dialogue, robust regulatory framework, clear roles and responsibilities, equitable funding arrangements, strong labor market relevance, and inclusiveness of all stakeholders. These are some important aspects and they should underpin every stage of quality apprenticeship training life cycle. We now move to our dear friend, Mr. Vasu Sharma, who is a part of the apprenticeship division at NSDC, who will speak about the apprenticeship and national apprenticeship promotion scheme in India. As a founding member of the apprenticeship division at NSDC, Vasu is managing the implementation of the apprenticeship program in India. He has participated in forming the revised guidelines, drafting the operational framework, and enhancing the portal to incorporate the new industry-friendly reforms in the program. Vasu also undertakes skill advocacy of the Skill India mission with external stakeholders across different industry fora, and with the focus on promoting industry-driven skilling ecosystem. He started his career as at a leading consulting firm, working on strategy projects for companies across the globe. He holds a bachelor's degree in economics from Hansraj College and a Master's of Business Administration degree from the Indian School of Business. I welcome Vasu to talk about the apprenticeship and the scheme that the government has presented for all the industry partners today.
Thank you, Varun. Very happy birthday, Mr. Simani, and good morning to everybody. Varun, am I audible?
You are audible. I think your video is not playing. Perhaps
Yeah. So I'm actually on low band, so I'm having patchy network here. So just to save bandwidth, I've switched off my video. I think
No
I
problem. So,
forwarded my PPT. So somebody.
That's right.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
just get that put in. Udit, can you please put through the PPT as well?
Thanks. Right. So the idea of this PPT is to understand what the apprenticeship program is. Last couple of years we've been through a series of reforms. So just quickly go through the reforms as well for people who are not aware of them, and then also somewhere highlight where we are right now in terms of our performance, and what is the business case for companies. Because a lot of companies come forward and ask that what is in it for us and why we should actually think about it from a business standpoint and actually go ahead and take an apprentice. So this is the current scenario. On the demand side, as you know, you go to any company, the foremost issue that they have is that they are not able to get skilled manpower. No matter wherever they, how much educated their people are, they still need to go through a training or induction program. The irony on the supply side is that India is a young nation, and yet industry is I mean they're still facing issues. They're not able to find enough employability, and this is where apprenticeship comes in. Apprenticeship is the only demand-driven industry-led skilling program in India, which is directly aiming to addressing the employability issue in India. We can go on the next slide, please. Right. Apprenticeship training has two components, as most of us are aware. One is the basic training, other one is on-the-job training. Basic training is the classroom theoretical training that you get before actually stepping onto on the shop floor training. The on-the-job training, shop floor training, is the actual apprenticeship training that you get on the shop floor of a company. As on the right hand side, you can see apprenticeship is actually mandated by law. If any company has 30 or more employees, now this is an unknown fact. A lot of companies, industries don't know about it. There is an act called the Apprentices Act of 1961, which says that any company which has 30 or more employees has to mandatorily take apprentices. Now, a lot of companies are following this. Many of the companies are not following this. And somewhere, maybe through this presentation, the companies would be convinced why they should take on apprentices. Now, if you have 4 to 29 employees, it's optional for you to take apprentices. And if you have up to 3 employees, you're not eligible to take apprentices. Next slide, please. Right. So this is one of the recent changes that we had gone through. Initially, the apprenticeship stipend was pegged to the minimum wages in every state, which was leading to a lot of confusion. So we took feedback from the industry, and now we've actually come up with a minimum prescribed stipend amount, which is in the range of 5,000 to 9,000. So depending on what the eligibility criteria of the apprenticeship program. Now, every apprenticeship training is backed by an apprenticeship curriculum. That curriculum mentions everything. It mentions what candidates are available for it, eligible for it, what is going to be the duration of the basic training, on-the-job training, and what are the learning modules we are going to be covering. So across the 38 sectors that we have in India, we've come up with almost, all entry-level job roles. We have curriculums ready for them. So industry just needs to adopt them and start taking apprentices. Now, depending on what apprentice you're taking as far as the eligibility is concerned, you will pay the stipend that range. Yeah, please, next slide. Yeah, we can go to the next. Yeah, thanks. So these are some of the key features of the program that we can keep in mind. Apprentices can be engaged in the band of 2.5 to 15% of a workforce. The minimum mandate, since it's a law, is 2.5%, and the maximum is 15%. The curriculums that I mentioned, which are across sectors, are in the range of 6 months to 36 months. Most of them are 6 months to 24 months. Recently, we got this approval to actually let the industry make curriculums up to 36 months, because this was a demand of the industry. So if any company that comes and says that, we do not want to adopt, or we cannot find a job role that we want to run, which is in your approved job roles curriculums, you actually have the flexibility of creating your own curriculum, which is, I think, a great flexibility that the industry has based on what your technology is, what your machines are, how you do your work. You have the flexibility of creating a curriculum which is specific to your organization. There was a misconception a lot of companies have that apprenticeship is only for engineering candidates and it is only for the manufacturing sector. So this is actually wrong, because it's a mandate, and every company which has more than 30 employees falls under the mandate. It covers the entire service sector. It covers the non-engineering set of people. It covers the school dropouts, school pass outs. So the entire spectrum is available to you. What we've also done is that the entire life cycle of the apprenticeship training is automated on the apprenticeship portal. The URL for which is apprenticeshipindia.org. Right from registration of a company to the candidate, to searching for candidates, to generating a contract, overseeing the entire training, submitting any sort of reimbursements that you have, showing the attendance, and eventually assessment certification. Everything is done online on the portal. There is no need to go to any government office or submit any hard paper or ask for any physical approval for anything. Everything happens on the portal. This is how seamless we made the functioning of the entire program. As you know, the CEOs of sector skill councils are the joint apprenticeship advisor. In a way, what the government has done is that the person who's going to be overlooking the program, is going to be the inspector of the program, is actually the representative of the sectors council itself. A lot of the industries don't know, but we have a sector skill council for every major sector in India. And every sector skill council is a representative body, a skilling representative body of the industry. So the CEO of the sector skill council is the joint apprenticeship advisor. So they are basically, your own representative is going to be somebody who's going to be verifying everything, verifying the contract and overseeing that the training is fine. You won't have any issues of an inspector coming and checking if everything is going fine or not. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah, thanks. Quickly, some legalities. Apprentices are not covered under the Labour Act, so they are exempt from ESI and EPF. Also, we got a clarification from the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, MCA, which said that if a company is taking apprentices over and above the minimum mandate, which is 2.5% of the workforce, they can actually, whatever they're taking over and above that, they can actually use the CSR funds for that. The clarification for this is again on the apprenticeship portal. Next slide, please. Now to top it all, we have financial incentive scheme called NAPS, which is National Apprenticeship Promotion. So the National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme is an incentivizing scheme to the industry, where the government is actually giving incentive to the industry who are taking apprentices. So as I had shown you on the first slide, there are two components: basic training, on-the-job training. For the basic training period, whether the basic training is conducted by a training partner or the industry, the government will give you 15 rupees per hour. So total of 7,500 for 500 hours. That comes to about 15 rupees per hour. Depending on how long the basic training is in the curriculum, you will get reimbursement into 15 rupees into the number of hours per candidate. Now, because you're also paying stipend to the candidate every month, which I showed you on the third slide, government will reimburse up to 25% of the prescribed stipend of 1,500 rupees. In most cases, it's going to be right. This is interesting because nowhere around the world, any government actually reimburses to industries who are taking apprentices. This is something unique to India. Next slide, please. So candidates who are eligible under optional trades is directly under the purview of the sector skill councils and the NSDC. So you can take ITI candidates, you can take diploma degree, short term. So if they're PMKVY, DGUKY, or any other state skill development mission program, short term training, and pursuing diploma. So these can be the input candidates for the courses that we have under optional trades. Next slide, please. Similar. Next slide, please. Right. So, a lot of people say that we are running an internship program. So why do we need to run an apprenticeship program? So there are some key differences. It's more, there's a contract necessarily in an apprenticeship program. It's more structured because you're following the structure of the curriculum. There is a legal framework to it. There is, of course, on-the-job training is common in both. There is a basic training versus off-the-job training, qualification, and eventually a certification and assessment and certification that happens. So these are the key features. And to top it all, of course, apprenticeship is mandated by law. Hence, a lot of companies who are running an internship program should look at converting it into an apprenticeship program so that they can actually follow the mandate as well. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Right. So this is the next slide, please. URL for the apprenticeship portal, apprenticeshipindia.org. We have user manuals for all the key stakeholders who are going to be using the portal. We have instructional videos also, which will guide you on every step that need to be taken, all the guidelines, FAQs. We maintain an FAQ document which has almost every question that we've been asked till now by the industry, so it gives you a clear picture of what the program is. So we try to make it as easy for the end users, for the industry, for the other stakeholders you are using, and it's a very intuitive portal which helps you run the program seamlessly. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah. Next. Next. Okay. Next. You can skip this part. Yeah. Next. All right. So we have a very interesting stakeholder that we empowered recently. It's called the third-party aggregator. Just the previous one, if possible. Previous one, if possible, the TPS slide, please. Right. So TPS is a very interesting concept. A lot of companies used to give a feedback saying that, we want to run the apprenticeship program, but we do not have people to help us or enough, people in-house to run it, or we need help mobilizing candidates or somebody to take care of the portal management. So we've actually brought on third-party aggregators who help companies to run the entire apprenticeship program on their behalf. So they will manage the portal for you. They can mobilize candidates. They can help you getting whatever little approvals you need to get, so on and so forth. So any company that wants to run the apprenticeship program, you're free to get in touch with the Sector Skill Council and they'll guide you. They will put you in touch with the TPS. A complete list of TPS is also there on the apprenticeship portal. Next slide. Next. Next. Right. So this is the performance just before this. Previous one, please. Previous to this also. Yeah, this one snapshot. Right. This is the cumulative performance till now. In India, over the years since 15-16, we've reached about 10.5 lakh apprenticeship trainings till now. If you actually see the workforce of India, and if you actually do a minimum mandate, a 2.5% to it, the figure comes to roughly 7 lakh apprenticeship training in a year. We've achieved about cumulatively 10 lakhs, but if every company actually follows the mandate and actually, takes this step forward towards nation building, we would actually have 7.5 lakh apprentices getting trained every year. And that's the potential that we are looking at and expect that the industries come for that. If you see the total active establishments, roughly about 28,000 establishments are taking apprentices, and there are different estimates, but we have close to 1 lakh of establishments who have a good amount of workforce in India. We should be looking at more companies should be coming forward and doing this. Please go to the next slide. Next, please. Next. Next. So we keep doing a lot of data analysis, and we've done this. Probably the PPT will be shared with you later on and go through them in detail. Next one, please. And next. Next. Right. So this is something that we need to touch upon. A lot of companies ask that why do we need to do apprenticeship and what is in it for us? It's very important to understand the business case of apprenticeship. I mean, it's a lot of people understand that, okay, it's a program that we are mandated to do. We are training people. It is leading to an increase in the overall employment in the sector. But what is in it for the company? Because eventually, companies have a capitalist mindset, and they would want to look at their top line regarding their HR policies and their hiring policies. So this is something, if you see the box on the lower right hand side, this is something that ILO, the International Labour Organization, gathered from cases around the world. The overall productivity in an organization increases if they take apprentices. The overall motivation increases. The retention rate goes up, so the attrition actually falls, and the competitiveness increases. Now, this is something that even companies in India that have been taking apprentices for a lot of years have confirmed that this is what they have felt in their companies. Next slide, please. We have some more slides to show you why, how apprenticeship is beneficial. If you see Airbus, this is a case from UK. 70% of the senior managers at Airbus started their career as apprentices. Previous one, please. Yeah. During the training, so if you see, we have some service. So Foodworld Bangalore has, the apprentice actually worked at 80% of the capacity of the employee at the same level. So usually what companies also report is that apprentices tend to get to a productivity level equivalent to their peers, full-time employees, quickly within 3 to 4 months. If we look at a hospitality example, Lemon Tree, the benefit to cost ratio was 1.5 to 2x. So as much as money that was being invested in the apprentice, about 2x returns was being realized by the company. Next slide, please. Right. So this is a study that we did with a leading consulting firm in the development sector. And we interviewed about over 100 companies. So about 67% of the companies that we interviewed saw net positive value in apprenticeship. So this is a huge number. 57% saw long-term benefits. The benefit to cost ratios were in 1.3 to 1.9x. A lot of the companies, out of the apprentices that were completing their entire training, they were absorbing up to 50% of their apprentices as full-time employees. So you're actually, in a way, building a pipeline for your future workforce. You're minimizing your hiring costs, your training costs, your induction costs, because you're taking an apprentice on a stipend. So think about this scenario when you're taking a person at a similar level as a full-time employee. The salary starts from the first day. There is EPF, there is ESI, there is a certain commission that you will have to pay to the staff. Major connection issues today. So if you look at any other company that if you're taking apprentices, you're trying them out for 6 months, 1 year, you're testing them out, you're assessing them, certifying at the end, and whoever is the cream, you're actually taking them as full-time employees. So that is how beneficial from a cost perspective is to companies. And a lot of companies are actually planning their the pipeline of their workforce by incorporating apprentices in them. Next slide, please. So these are some of the study findings that came out of the study that we did by interviewing the 100 companies that I showed you in the previous slide. What's interesting to see is the third row. Apprentices reached full productivity levels halfway through the apprenticeship program, and if not 3 months. This actually means that they started performing equivalent to a full-time employee level within half duration of the apprenticeship program, and that's the benefit. That's the savings that the companies realized. And if you see the recruitment cost saved by companies is up to 50% in a lot of sectors. So we also try to show you how, from a business standpoint, apprenticeship is beneficial to companies. So yeah, I think that's about it. I'll end my presentation here. Thank you. That's it. So we've done some more analysis, and I think if the Sector Skill Council is going to circulate the presentation, you can go through some more slides and cases that we have done on industries. So I'll wrap up my presentation here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Vasu, for an elaborate detailing of the program, and how it can be of great benefit to the companies. I'm certain there would be several questions popping up and how it can be implemented. Be rest assured that the placement cell in IPSC, along with the support from the NSDC's team and the TPS, we will handle you in every step and ensure that you're able to implement this properly. There are several portals that have been developed as well by the skill development ecosystem that can actually support the employees by locating potential apprentices and employees as well, which companies can make use of. We will share those details with you all as well. Before we move to the next next bit, I'd like to just check if there's any questions that come up based on the presentation that Vasu's shown. We'd like for you to either raise your hand or put through into the chat box, and we can perhaps take a couple of questions before we move to the next session.
Thank you, Vasu, for a very, very, very interesting presentation. I have two things I just wanted to check with you. I believe the state governments like UP and UP started giving 1,000 rupees on top of the 1,500. Is that true, or is it does it come under NAPS, or doesn't get some other apprentice scheme? Vasu, can you hear me? Or Mr.
Yeah, I was muted, so yeah. Yeah, so right, sir, absolutely. So the one that we are aware of is Gujarat providing a top-up scheme. So they provide a 1,500 over and above the 1,500 under the NAPS scheme. Now, this is something that is a totally initiative of the state government. So it doesn't come under the central government budget. But yes, it does happen, and the component comes from the state government.
Yeah, because even UP has started doing it probably a few days back, and our team from IPSC is in touch with them, and
right,
they started 1,000 rupees per on.
So state governments, yeah, Yeah, so state governments are allowed to do so. In fact, Maharashtra has increased the upper mandate from 15% to 25%. So they got a special approval for that. So there are a lot of extra things that the states do to give impetus to the apprenticeship program.
Okay. The second major, thing probably which we should also advise the uh, organizations, because once the your apprentices are not covered under ESI, so
Correct.
need to take a compensation, another policy to safeguard the
Right.
accidental and health of the apprentice.
Right. So
Because
apprentices
that
are
lot of
so
companies made a mistake of, they said they're not covered by ESI, but then they
right.
should be covered with some medical policy by which the
Absolutely,
they should be
absolutely.
taken care of.
Absolutely. So, the companies, so we advise all the companies to take a group insurance because apprentices are still covered under WCA, the Workmen's Compensation Act. So, if anything goes wrong, the principal employer would be responsible for it.
Yes.
So, many of the companies, in fact, most of the companies are taking group insurance policies. And in fact, a lot of the new age group insurance policies, in fact, the ones that are coming nowadays also cover for COVID and other things as well. So a lot of the companies are actually going ahead and taking group insurance policies.
Probably, even if in your presentations, we can add up this that they should take it so that they don't miss out on this
Right.
important factor.
Right.
And the
Thank you.
third
We
thing,
will
I have
definitely do.
another, you was talking about the 7,500 for a train. This is over and
I'll just break it down. So there is basic training, there's on-the-job training. During basic training, the company has to pay 50% of the prescribed stipend. So if my stipend is 10,000 rupees, when I'm taking basic training, company would be paying me 5,000 rupees because I'm actually not working on the shop floor or contributing to productivity. What happens after that is that because while I'm going through the basic training, I will be given if the company is conducting basic training or the training partner is conducting basic training, they will get 7,500, maximum of 7,500 per candidate. As soon as the candidate starts working on the shop floor, when it starts his OJT, the employer will start getting reimbursed 1,500. The basic training.
from 7,500, it will come down to 1,500. Okay, one more thing, that always has been when we are talking about the issues that we have had recently within the plumbing sector. Another issue is, there are a lot of overlapping job roles. What happen, like when we look into manufacturing facilities, a lot of manufacturing companies have got VMC machines or CNC machines or another polishing to be done, which neither is covered by the other SSCs, but then is also not a job given to IPSC. So how do we do that? Should we take it on a own, designing the own course as we were talking about, so that it can be then covered by the Indian Plumbing Skill Council for their manufacturing companies? It's totally different from what the other SSCs would be doing on training of on machine working.
Right. I think this is a slight technical question, and we'll have to look at what QPs would be involved because depending on how, I think Varun would probably have a better answer to this question. But as a simple answer to your question, yes. See, actually, the thing is that if QPs are common across sectors, then you cannot probably have, yeah. You will not be able to have a course specific to the plumbing sector. So we'll have to look at what is it that you're looking at, what is the job role, what is going to be the learning criteria, and can it really be classified as a curriculum for the plumbing sector? But to create a curriculum based on your demand, yes, that's absolutely possible and one of the key features of the optional trades program.
Yeah, because in your presentation you said that the industry can create its own
Right. Absolutely.
There's a requirement of.
Right. So I think I lost you in the middle, but to answer your question, yes, so curriculum creation is very easy. In fact, again, it is automated on the portal. We have uploaded templates that the industry can, and we uploaded a guide document also where you can actually just follow the instructions and create a curriculum and submit it online. And we will directly get it and review it and send it for approval. So we've actually made that process also quite seamless.
Perfect. Varun, we can use Mr. Pawan to help all the industry
Absolutely,
members.
sir.
And
Absolutely.
and
As a
will,
part of the next session, what we're going to be presenting is how it can be implemented for the plumbing industry with the various job roles that there are, and how IPSC can support in this activity as well. With your permission, we can move forward, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you for your question, sir. I'm sure this would bring a lot of clarity to not just within the organization, but of course for our partners that have joined us as well. I'm going to quickly move to the next session, which is around how do we implement it within the plumbing industry itself. And we've got a small presentation. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I'll quickly brush through this. Of course, we'll be sharing it with all the participants as well. I hope the screen is visible. Udit, if you could just confirm if the screen's visible.
Yes, sir, the screen's.
Thank you. Thank you. So just before we move to what apprenticeship and how we're going to be doing that, let me just brief you on what IPSC is. We're the Apex Sector Skill Council that works under the aegis of the Ministry of Skill Development and NSDC. And it's our job to ensure that we transform India into a hub of skilled manpower. We're a not-for-profit organization, and we work as an accreditation and a certification body to working towards minimizing the skill gap. Of course, the biggest and the most important thing that we're doing is creating a formal and a robust skill development ecosystem, which includes development of training facilities across India, framing of resources and standards, quality assurance framework pertaining to certifications, training of trainers, training of assessors, creating mechanisms around certifications, and the most important part, which is capacity building, which is private sector participation. The Skill India mission is going to be successful when we have the private sector participating with us 100%. And of course, placement linkages, apprenticeship, collaborations with the partners. That's what's going to bring the impetus to the Skill India mission. And we would like for the industry partners to actually join hands with us in implementing these schemes as well. Just to give you a glimpse of the certification, they're Aadhaar linked, they're NSQF, National Skill Qualification Framework aligned, and it's got the Government of India emblem on it. Even I don't have a Government of India certification for the courses that I've done. So it's a big value addition to the people that actually go through this program. Just to give you a glimpse of what the career progression is like. Of course, there's a NSQF level framework, and then there's a conventional education system. Somebody could simply be a 5th or an 8th pass, but if they possess a skill certification of level 4, they're equivalent to a 12th grader. And the way the courses have been defined, that there's always career progression that can take place from level 4 to level 5 to level 6. And well, we would love to see one day that we've got a doctorate or a PhD program for level 10 as well. Udit, if you could just check the annotations as well and remove those. To give you a glimpse of what job roles we can support you with. When it comes to plumbing, a lot of people are thinking that it's going to be specific to plumbers. However, we've developed job roles for the contracting, for the consulting, and for the manufacturing segment. One second. Udit, can you please remove the annotations? Right. So you can see that there's a lot of job roles that we've created, which we can help the industry with, and you can actually put apprentices in these courses as well. We can look into the manufacturing via means of getting after-sales service people put in as as apprentices within the organization, or even plumbing product sales officers for that matter. And with regards to the point of creating job roles specific to the industry, there are we've created a job role which is advanced sanitary ware manufacturing assistant as well, which has actually been taken up by some of our industry partners as well. There's a sanitary ware manufacturing assistant, which is actually for the sanitary ware companies. You can actually take on people that are working on the shop floor or in the factory as sanitary ware manufacturing assistants and actually put them as apprentices. And of course, we can create numerous more job roles with the support of our placement team as well. Again, they'll all have standard, the technical specifications. However, soft skills, teamwork, health and safety, digital financial literacy, these are all value additions that we would intend to provide as a part of this as well. I'm going to skip some of these slides because Vasu's briefed elaborately on these, but some key points here: 0 to 3, companies are not eligible. 4 to 29, it is becoming mandatory. So you are required to actually put through apprentices. The apprentices are trainees and not workers. Some provisions of law such as PFESI do not apply. And there's specific, basic training. There's been specific guidelines that have been created whether basic training is required or not required based on the current occupation of the person and the level of education. And of course, the stipend payment that's already been created as well. There are business cases available, which we're going to discuss soon as well. But the next most important thing is the fact that there's a lot of financial benefit that the government is providing as well, which is basic training up to 7,500 for 3 months and 25% of the prescribed stipend, subject to a maximum of 1,500 per month per apprentice. So please make use of this while this scheme is being pushed by the government. And like we said, it's very, very simple to get this going. Go to apprenticeshipindia.org. You can register yourself as an employer. The apprentices can do the same as well. You can declare the vacancies, you can search, you can shortlist candidates, you can issue contract letters, monitor the training, submit the claims online, pay online. So it's become very, very simple. You know, the entire process has been made very, very simple. There's numbers on the screen that you can take a snapshot of, and you can get in touch with us, and we'll be more than happy to handhold you and support you to make sure that we are able to take on this scheme. Right. So thank you for that. And now we're going to move to the next segment, which is experience sharing. And I'd like to now invite our very dear friend and mentor, Mr. Surajit Roy, who's supported IPSC and guided us towards not just apprenticeship, but several other programs as well. Surajit Roy, till recently, was heading the apprenticeship division at the National Skill Development Corporation. He's a harbinger of apprenticeship in its present form in India. While at the NSDC, he also headed education sector, sector skill council governance, RPLs, special project verticals. Having a work experience of more than 35 years, he served both in the government and the private sector. He's a former civil servant and served Delhi government and other union territories like Andaman and Nicobar Islands for nearly 25 years. He was instrumental in bringing to Delhi almost all the high-end retail spaces, including the Saket and Vasant Kunj malls, while serving the DDA. He headed DLF Homes, East and Central India operations, and then joined Ansal's API to look after its Rajasthan operations, and the Ansal Institute of Technology Sushant School of Architecture in Gurgaon. He returned to the social sector to take skill development and waste management initiatives of CRIDAI before joining NSDC. Surajit sir, it's a pleasure to have you here. And given your past experience, the vast experience in both skilling and the building and construction industry, I request you to please share some key real world challenges in the implementation and how we've been able to overcome those. And how have we been able to create this excellent value to the participating companies? Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Varun. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to talk about the way forward in apprenticeship. Well, I think it's one of those programs. The major challenge is that everything is there and still it's not happening. And I don't think you can have a more well-designed program as far as the need of the two major stakeholders is concerned. And it is not only to do with apprenticeship, it is to do with the nation as such. One is the need of the youngster to get employment and get ready for employment before he is actually employed through an exposure on the job. And the other is the need of the industry to get ready to employ skilled manpower, preferably trained on its own shop floor. Apprenticeship is a program which allows all that to happen, not only in theory, but actually in practice in India, the way the law is positioned and the way the program has been designed. So I think it is the most relevant program in the entire skill ecosystem. In fact, it bridges the gaps which otherwise the skill ecosystem has been having been largely supply driven till now, which need not really take care of the stakeholders' interests. There are other interests which come into play. While apprenticeship has to be demand driven, and it has to actually play into the hands of the two major stakeholders. One is the industry itself. It cannot run without the industry playing an active role or a primary role. And the second is the youngster. So it cannot run without the apprentice. The rest of us all have to be facilitators. I don't think there is a program which is so well designed. And as I said, the easiness of the law, everything in the law is discretion. The only two things which the law mandates are, number one, if you are a company of a certain size, you are mandated to engage apprentices as your social responsibility towards your own sector of getting skilled manpower, your own, and for the smaller companies down the line, your own ancillaries, your own franchisees, so your own quality improves. And second is, when you engage these apprentices, you have to pay them a minimum stipend. And actually it is very, very reasonable, ranging from 5,000 to 9,000 rupees, depending on the qualification you specify in the job role you design. You can pay more, but that's all that the law mandates. Rest of it is the discretion, whether you employ up to 15%, whether you're a smaller company wanting to engage apprentices on your own voluntarily, the kind of job roles where you want to engage apprentices, which can change from year to year, what job role, how to design the job role, the duration of the apprenticeship program from 6 to 36 months. So it's all discretion, discretion, discretion. And if there is a challenge here, I think there are 2 or 3 challenges. One, there is an awareness challenge, which the government seriously needs to look into. It has done the hard work. It has got a legislation going, which is actually the wish list of an industry completely met. It also includes the service sector. It also includes the engineering side. Today, an industry can recruit a dropout in a blue collar job. It can recruit a graduate in a white collar job. And it can now also recruit, engage as an apprentice, a person who is pursuing graduations through the apprenticeship embedded degree programs. So what the government now needs to do is actually focus on awareness, focus on facilitating this entire program and keeping away from the dangers of over-regulation or even regulation. I mean, it has to be the facilitating job. I think there is a gap there. It should not focus on trying to amend the law again because there is no need. But what I see and what I hear, unfortunately, is that the entire focus has shifted from creating awareness of what they have given, what the Actually, the parliament has passed this legislation 2014, 15. Again, rules have been amended in 19 instead of actually laying a road to implementing all of this. And despite lack of awareness, the trends have been good. So all the signals Vasu shared with us, the trends which have been good, almost 30% of the apprenticeship program now is industry led. It is designed by the industry itself rather than going by the job roles notified by the government. So, and in 2 years, all of this has happened. So everything is going right. Only thing is there has to be learning, there has to be awareness in the among the industry. Now, there are some myths I would like to cover on apprenticeship. One, that it could be exploitative. It is not the case. Apprenticeship is actually not an employment tool. It is the last mile training tool. You are actually training the youngster to be employment ready and you are giving him a stipend. So in fact, it's a bonus for him. He is being given stipend, so he is earning while he is learning. Therefore, he is not treated as a worker. Therefore, the EPF and ESI regulations are not mandatory for an apprentice, and this gives an advantage to an industry, especially the MSMEs. The basic question is, when you have such a program there and also mandated by law, would an industry like to spend on recruitment, first get a person on board and then train, or will an industry, once it is aware of this program, opt to train a person first and then out of those pick the best and engage him as an employee? Wages to that person, he did not pay the EPF and ESI. So the entire design is of the last mile training tool as a last mile training tool. It is not an employment tool. It is not employment. So second myth, that it leads to attrition. Well, if you look at apprenticeship, it is basically aimed at skilling the entire workforce in that sector. So even if there is attrition at a larger company, the apprentice will get employed lower down with the ancillaries of franchisees. Even if the larger companies cannot take all the apprentices, the ones who are left over will go and join the smaller ancillary, smaller companies. So as a result of which the entire sector is getting skilled, and this is what in the long run will help the industry. For MSMEs, it is a fantastic program because of 2 or 3 reasons. One, as I said, it is getting an opportunity to train a worker before being obliged to pay full wages to an employee. Number 2, it has EPF, ESI exemptions. Number 3, and this applies to all the industry, the entire program is run on a portal. So there is no movement of paper, there is no movement of people. And number 4, the companies can come together, the smaller companies, and come together and run the basic training program. The smaller companies can use the shop floor of the larger companies and train the apprentices on the machines of the larger companies if the larger companies so allow. The law allows it. So it has to have a sectoral approach. The entire sector should come together and see how it can use this law to skill their potential workforce for the future. And I have not at all touched NAPS. I think all of this, if the industry understands, NAPS will become irrelevant, because when you take, and I'm saying so because the industry needs to understand this, NAPS can be okay as a starting tool, but the moment you take government subsidy, you get caught into a lot of rigmarole as to which job role, what QP, what approvals, and all of this has to be NSQF aligned and all of that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it takes time. So, and once I think the industry understands the win-win and the youngster understands the win-win in the program as it is, even without NAPS, I think the program will run even faster. So I'll leave it at that. I would only say both the sector scale council, the NSDC and the ministry needs to really focus on spreading awareness not only among the industry, awareness among the colleges who need to run apprenticeship embedded degree programs, awareness amongst the state government officers who are still not aware of the discretion which the program now, the act now gives to the industry. They are still stuck with the old act. So all of this needs to be worked on, and there is no need to change the law again and again and create more confusion, and just take the program back a few years more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Surajit sir, for pointing out some key aspects and highlighting value additions for every stakeholder involved. Of course, there are challenges, and the only way that we can perhaps get over those is when we all join hands and work together. We intend to connect the dots and create a win-win for everyone involved, as Surajit sir said. And that's exactly what we intend to do with this meeting today. As Vanessa rightly pointed out, we need to conduct more meetings around this. So we will host a series of meetings from now on, moving further, to handhold partners to take on apprentices, starting with registrations, how to register, how to use the portal, to engaging apprentices. And we will do it on a weekly basis so that the partner companies that would like to get involved can actually have their teams slowly learn and actually develop capabilities to be able to use the systems effectively. We've had numerous stakeholders that have taken apprentices within the sector, with the likes of companies such as Hindware, Lemon Tree Hotels, Serra, Jaguar, Aquaviva. Our next speaker is Ms. Hiral Vaidya from Human Development Research Foundation, HDRF, who've been approved in the same capacity of third-party aggregator and basic training provider by Ministry of Skill Development since 2017. HDRF has been actively working with diverse establishments, including private, MSME, service sector, central public sector undertakings, and have successfully facilitated engagement of close to over 5,000 apprentices under diverse trades. HDRF actively associated with Serra and has taken on quite a few apprentices. I think there's over 25 apprentices that have actually been taken in one of the factories for the Plumber General 2 trade as well. Hiral, we welcome you, and we'd like for you to share some of the experiences and how you managed to do this and how you got the companies involved.
Yeah, thank you very much, Varun. Mr. Surjit Roy sir from NHDC, Mr. Vasu Sarma from NHDC, Mr. Vinay Gupta sir, and Mr. Varun. Human Development and Research Foundation as a TPA. मैं गुजरात गवर्नमेंट में एज अहमदाबाद में लोकेटेड हूँ. मेरी ऑफिस यहाँ पे है और एंटायर पान इंडिया हम लोग वर्क कर रहे हैं. तो बेसिकली मेरे पास कम से कम 125 कंपनी रजिस्टर होगी डिफरेंट सेक्टर में, और उसमें से सेरा सैनिटरी वेयर लिमिटेड जो 10 स्टेट के अंदर वर्क कर रही है, 10 स्टेट में. सो उसके 100 से प्लस अप्रेंटाइज यहाँ पे उनकी मैन्युफैक्चरिंग फैक्ट्री में हमने लगाए हुए हैं, और उसमें से 25 इज अ प्लम्बिंग सेक्टर में है जो अभी बीटीपी लेके उन्होंने आगे का अप्रेंटिस में कॉन्ट्रैक्ट जनरेट किए हैं. सो बेसिकली मुझे फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल प्लम्बिंग सेक्टर स्किल के लिए थैंक यू बोलना है, क्योंकि उन लोगों ने हमें वेरी फास्ट सेंटर अप्रूवल, बीटीपी अप्रूवल, सेंटर अप्रूवल से सारी प्रोसेस में उन लोगों ने काफ़ी हमारी हेल्प की और बहुत फास्ट हुआ, जिसकी वजह से इंडस्ट्री को हम लोग मोटिवेट कर पाते हैं. फास्ट वर्क होने की वजह से उन लोगों को भी अच्छा लगता है, क्योंकि जब भी कैंडिडेट अवेलेबल होता है और हमें परमिशन नहीं मिलती है तब जाके डिफिकल्टीज होती है. सो इट्स माय पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस के प्लम्बिंग सेक्टर की वजह से हम लोगों ने वहाँ पे बीटीपी सेरा सैनिटरी वेयर के नाम से ही रजिस्टर करवाया है, बट उनका सारा वर्क हम लोग करते हैं। तो बेसिकली ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट एंड रिसर्च फाउंडेशन, वी आर अ ब्रिज टू इंडस्ट्री एंड गवर्नमेंट, इंडस्ट्री और एनएचडीसी, इंडस्ट्री और सेक्टर स्किल काउंसिल। सो बीटीपी एंड टीपीए दोनों का रोल हम लोग ही एज अ सेरा सैनिटरी वेयर में कर रहे हैं। तो उनके जितने भी कैंडिडेट है, उनका कॉन्ट्रैक्ट जनरेट करने से लेके उनके रीएम्बर्समेंट तक की ऑल फैसिलिटी बिहाफ ऑफ इंडस्ट्री हमें देनी होती है। सो वो लोग यूजर आईडी पासवर्ड भी हमारे पास रहता है और हम लोग उनको पूरा गाइड करते हैं कि उनके जो भी वर्किंग है तो उसमें कौन सा ट्रेड वेरी सूटेबल है। और उसके बाद में उनका जब भी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट जनरेट होता है तो फर्स्ट डे से लेके एंड डेट तक वो कैंडिडेट से भी हम टच में रहते हैं। उनकी जो एग्जाम होती है, असेसमेंट करवाना है, तो वो असेसमेंट का भी कोऑर्डिनेट हम लोग कर रहे हैं। तो जिसकी वजह से ऑल विन विन सिचुएशन, इंडस्ट्री आर वेरी हैप्पी विद टीपीए कि उनको एक पूरा वर्कफोर्स नहीं डेवलप करना रहता है, एक बंदा हमारे साथ में टच में रहता है कि जो हमें डॉक्यूमेंट और हमारी गाइडलाइन के ऊपर कंपनी में वो करता रहता है। उसके पहले हमें जितनी भी एडवाइस देनी होती है वो बाय मेल और ऑनलाइन हम लोग दे देते हैं। और सेकेंडली कि जब भी स्ट्राइक होती है या कुछ भी, जैसे कि अभी भी आज सेरा सैनिटरी वेयर में से रिप्रेजेंटेटिव यहाँ पे आने वाले थे, तो उनकी जो परमानेंट एम्प्लॉय है वो यूनियन करके कि वो लोगों ने स्ट्राइक कर दी। तो अप्रेंटाइज ऐसे है कि वो लोग एज ए एम्प्लॉय नहीं है, तो उनकी वजह से उनका बेसिक जो होता है वो कंटिन्यू रह सकता है। तो उनके लिए अप्रेंटाइज भी बहुत इम्पोर्टेंस रहते हैं एज ए इंडस्ट्री। तो जो काफी प्रेजेंटेशन में बताया गया कि एम्प्लॉयमेंट जो परमानेंट होते हैं उनके साथ साथ में जो अप्रेंटाइज भी होता है उनका आउटपुट में काफी परसेंटेज और उनका रोल रहता है। तो आई एम ऑल्सो बिलीविंग दिस थिंग। मैं स्किल डेवलपमेंट में काफी सालों से वर्क कर रही हूँ। 2005 से हमारा नॉट फॉर प्रॉफिट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है और हम लोगों ने 10,000 से भी ज्यादा स्किल करके प्लेस किए होंगे डिफरेंट स्कीम के अंदर, लाइक NULM है, लाइक DDU-GKY है, PM। सो वो सब के अंदर वो मोबिलाइज करने से लेके असेसमेंट और सर्टिफिकेशन का रहता था। बट इसके अंदर फर्स्ट वो कैंडिडेट एज वहां पे ऑन जॉब के लिए एनरोल होता है, तो इंडस्ट्री के अंदर ही उसको ऑन जॉब ट्रेनिंग मिलती है, उनको स्टाइपेंड मिलता है, उनको सर्टिफिकेट मिलता है। तो आई थिंक सुरजीत सर ने जिस हिसाब से बताया कि दिस इज अ वंडरफुल प्रोग्राम, कि इसके जैसा कोई स्किल डेवलपमेंट में आज तक हम लोगों का एक्सपीरियंस रहा है, ऐसा कोई प्रोग्राम नहीं है। तो हमें ऑलवेज अप्रेंटाइज नेप्स को हम लोग प्रमोट करते हैं। हमारी वजह से काफी एस्टेब्लिशमेंट रजिस्टर हुए और सर्विस सेक्टर में भी अभी जिस हिसाब से उन लोगों ने इंडस्ट्री लेने के लिए बात की है तो बहुत अच्छा है। प्लम्बिंग सेक्टर के लिए मुझे एक बात बहुत अच्छी तरह से बोलनी होगी कि यूके गवर्नमेंट का एक स्किल डेवलपमेंट का प्रोग्राम था जो हम लोग अटेंड कर रहे थे। ब्रिटिश हाई कमीशन के थ्रू उन लोगों ने मैनेज किया था। तो उसमें जो स्पीकर आए थे स्किल डेवलपमेंट के, उसमें से प्लम्बिंग सेक्टर में से आया हुआ था। वो बंदे ने खुद अपना एक्सपीरियंस शेयर किया और उन्होंने वही बताया कि मैं एज ए अप्रेंटाइज ज्वाइन किया था। उसके बाद में मैंने ऐसी अप्रेंटाइज की इंडस्ट्री स्किल डेवलपमेंट में मैं ज्वाइन हुआ और हम लोगों ने इतने कैंडिडेट को प्लम्बिंग सेक्टर में स्किल की एज ए अप्रेंटाइज। तो काफी एंटरप्रेन्योर डेवलप हुए और वो लोग एज अ डॉक्टर जितना अर्न कर रहे हैं उतना वो एक एज अ प्लम्बर अर्न कर रहा है। सो जहाँ पे गुजरात में काफी कंस्ट्रक्शन और वो डेवलपमेंट हो रहा है तो प्लम्बिंग सेक्टर की काफी रिक्वायरमेंट है, उसमें हम लोग काफी ले सकते हैं। काफी ट्रेड आप लोगों ने डेवलप किए हुए हैं। सो एज अ गुजरात एंटरप्रेन्योर के लिए काफी फेमस है। इंडस्ट्री में जब भी उन लोगों को वर्क नहीं करना है तो प्लम्बिंग सेक्टर एक ऐसा है कि जिसके अंदर न्यू एंटरप्रेन्योर के हिसाब से वो लोग डेवलप हो सकते हैं। सो हम लोग काफी प्लम्बिंग सेक्टर के अंदर हम फोकस कर रहे हैं। सेरा सैनिटरी वेयर का द स्टेट में जो भी है वो उसका यहाँ से ही हमारी ऑफिस से ही सारा रिपोर्टिंग रहता है। सो मैं काफ़ी थैंक यू कि आप लोगों ने मुझे इतने बोलने के लिए और एक अपॉर्चुनिटी दी है। NHTC मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ स्किल डेवलपमेंट के साथ हम लोग एसोसिएट है और एज अ TPA वर्क कर रहे हैं काफ़ी एक्टिवली। किसी ने हमें एक क्वेश्चंस किया था कि जैसे NAPS में जो स्टाइपेंड मिल रहा है उसी हिसाब से गवर्नमेंट ऑफ गुजरात यहाँ पे रीएम्बर्समेंट दे रही है। जैसे कि 10 पास है और ITI है तो उनको नेट्स के अलावा 1500 रुपीज उनको एडिशनल दिया जाता है। अगर डिप्लोमा है उसको 2000 रुपीज और ग्रेजुएट कैंडिडेट है तो उसको 3000। सो मिनिमम इंडस्ट्री को रीएम्बर्समेंट 3000 से लेके 4500 रुपीज तक मिलता है। तो डिपेंड ऑफ ट्रेड उन लोगों को ये गवर्नमेंट ऑफ गुजरात का डेफिनेटली एक एडिशनल सपोर्ट रहता है। तो काफ़ी इंडस्ट्री नाउ मोटिवेट हो रही है, एज अ TPA मोटिवेट हो रही है बिकॉज ऑफ उन लोगों को गाइडेंस मिल रहा है, प्लस उनका जो पेपर वर्क है, उनका पोर्टल मैनेज करना है, तो वो सभी की वजह से आज काफ़ी इंडस्ट्री अवेयर हुई है कि NAP स्कीम से, अप्रेंटिस की स्कीम से, और एज अ BTP भी अभी उन लोगों को कोई दिक्कत नहीं है क्योंकि काफ़ी BTP का भी प्रोसेस काफ़ी फास्ट हो गया है, तो अप्रूवल भी फास्ट मिल जाता है। सो ये अप्रेंटिस के लिए मैं आगे भी काफ़ी नंबर्स से लेके काफ़ी इंडस्ट्री के साथ में पाइपलाइन में हूँ और हम लोग काफ़ी अवेयरनेस कर रहे हैं। मेरे ये जो भी मैंने प्रेजेंटेशन, इतने सारे प्रेजेंटेशन हुआ था इसकी वजह से नहीं दिया है, बट आप लोगों को कोई भी नेप्स में मैं इतने सालों से हूँ तो कोई क्वेश्चंस है या टेक्निकली या कोई पूछना है तो आप मुझे पूछ सकते हैं सर।
Thank you so much, Hiral, for sharing your experience. I'm sure आपने जो बताया उससे काफी benefit और काफी clarity हमारे partners को जरूर मिली होगी. We thank you for your experience and sharing the fact that अलग-अलग states within the state ही incentivize कर रहे हैं to take on apprenticeships. जैसे कि सुरजीत सर ने कहा, इस चीज को लोगों को बताना जरूरी है. People need to know that there is schemes available. It is nothing but earn while you learn. They can earn while they are learning, and the benefit is for the industry because industry को government से directly support मिलता है in this. Everything is become digital. And of course, जैसे कि वासु ने, सुरजीत सर ने, विनय सर ने, हम सब ने बताया that the most beneficial part here is that there are people that will actually work and help the industries get all this going. IPSC का placement cell, third party aggregators, NSDC, हम सब लोग मिलके आपकी as industry मदद करेंगे to actually get the apprenticeship going, to ensure कि आपके BTP लग गए, to ensure कि आपको stipend आ रहा है, to ensuring that all the paperwork is being taken care of. So it's a very, very good scheme, and I'm sure it will be of a lot of benefit. As I said, we will also do a series of webinars and we will involve more TPAs, we will involve more industry partners, and of course keep having experts from NSDC also come in and clarify questions as well. Thank you, Hiral, once again. Thank you, Surajit sir, once again. We move now to the question and answer session. If in case there are certain questions, we would love for you to again put them on the chat, and perhaps we can see if we can get you through to ask some of these questions as well. There are a few that I have. Somebody's asked, where can we get the orientation videos and success stories? I have an answer, and I'd like Vasu to add in case I've missed out on anything. Apprenticeship के benefits कैसे होते हैं, उन सब के videos भी बने हैं, which are available on YouTube, which are available through apprenticeshipindia.org. We'll of course share those as well. Please show it across to the industry partners within the region, within the areas that the training partners are working in, so that आप इस बारे में ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा जागरूकता पैदा कर पाए, and more people are able to know about this. Vasu, anything that you'd like to add on this?
Right. Thank you. Yes, sir. Also, हमारे apprenticeship portal के landing page पे ही there are success stories and testimonials. So आप जरूर देख सकते हैं. From time to time we keep putting more and more. तो वो है, and the videos are orientation videos. वो आपको step by step बताएंगे on the portal how you need to proceed and complete each step on the portal.
Thank you, Vasu. Thank you. Any other questions? Please feel free to put them on the chat box. We'll be more than happy to take them on right now. Of course, we've overshot the time limit, but we're more than happy with the permission of guest speakers to probably just be there for another 5 minutes, and we can wrap up today's session. Any other questions? Please feel free to put them in the chat box. There is one more that's come through. How can the training partner benefit from the implementation? Vasu, you'd like to take that up?
Right. So training partner, there are different ways of looking at how a training partner can benefit. Firstly, if the training partner is running a PMKVY program or any other STT program that's recognized in the apprenticeship program, then the pass outs of the short-term training program can actually be input for the apprenticeship training, where they are considered, where the basic training will be exempt because they're coming straight from a short-term training to an apprenticeship training. Also, a lot of the training partners don't know this, but apprenticeship is considered as placement if they are placing a PMKVY unplaced candidate. So it will be considered placement for the training partner. And of course, if you are running an apprenticeship basic training in partnership with the company, if you're running the basic those are the benefits covered.
Thank you. Another question that has popped up is, what is the average time of formal contract to be signed between company and the prospective apprentice?
Right. So this will be, so every apprenticeship program follows a curriculum. Curriculum mentions the duration. So I think it's more linked to the job role you are taking an apprentice under. So all these details, all the job role curriculums are there on the apprenticeship portal. So that you're free to go. They are available in public domain. You're free to go check them out and see what job role has what duration mentioned in the curriculum. But of course, as far as the program is concerned, the duration will be minimum of 6 months to a maximum of 36 months. So all the apprenticeship curriculums will lie within this duration period.
Thank you, Vasu. And another benefit that I'd like to add to what Vasu just mentioned is the actual signing of the contract itself. There's no paperwork involved. When you register yourself as a company or an Apprenticeship India, the authorized signatory puts in a digital signature. जैसे ही आपने अपनी तरफ से रिक्वेस्ट भेजी कि हाँ ये बच्चे को मैं अप्रेंटिस लगाना चाहता हूँ, your signature block comes on this side of the page. Once the candidate accepts, their signature comes on the right side of the page automatically, and the the joint apprenticeship advisor, which is IPSC and the states, put in there okay, and the contract gets generated automatically. It's all done digitally. There is no paperwork required to be signed physically. And that's another big benefit that the Apprenticeship India portal is able to offer to the employers as well, that all those aspects of paperwork are actually taken care of online itself. I saw somebody raising a hand. Perhaps if you could put in your question in the chat box. Another question that's come through is how long does it generally take to have a BTP approved?
So if you actually filled the form properly, then it should not take more than a week to 10 days for the entire process to happen.
Perfect. And another question that I'm seeing is that with regards to the curriculums, if in case the industry wants to have somebody hired on a particular job role which is not available, I believe it's the non-NAPS curriculum that they need to prepare, which IPSC, of course, can help them out with. But how long will it take to actually have that approved as well, so that the company can actually start hiring?
So the non-NAPS curriculum, again, if filled in a proper template, my colleague Pankhuri, she usually gets back again in a week, 10 days.
Perfect.
Those are expedited approvals and they will not take much time. Yeah.
Perfect. So if in case companies are only looking at taking them without the NAPS benefits, a week to 10 days for us to design the course, have it approved, and the apprenticeship, the apprentice can be put in straight away.
Right.
If we're looking at the NAPS benefits or the financial benefits that the government is offering, of course, they can be done to the already NSQF aligned job roles, which are listed down on the apprenticeship portal already. Absolutely. Absolutely. Perfect. Perfect. So there's no other questions. I'd like to call it a day. I appreciate everybody for coming in today and sharing their experiences. Thank you, Vinay, for your questions. I'm sure they're going to be helping some of the other industry partners that are present today. General Chadda, Surajit sir, for your kind advice. Vasu, for the elaborate presentation. I hope it was beneficial to everybody that participated today. And again, Hiral, for sharing the experiences as a third-party aggregator and how it can scale up with the third-party aggregators itself. I'd like to now invite General Chadda to give his closing remarks, and we'll call it a day. And while General Chadda is delivering the closing remarks, I would appreciate if all the participants can perhaps turn on their videos. As a part of our tradition, we would click snapshots of everybody that's present today so that we can put it across social media that we've done something like this and we've had partners participating with us today. Over to General Chadda.
It gives me immense pleasure to say a few words as closing of this session. First of all, I would like to thank the Vice Chairman of IPSC, Mr. Surajit Roy, Mr. Vasu from NSDC, and the TPA from Gujarat, and all our training partners, our industry partners, and our master trainers, master assessors, and certified trainers, assessors who have joined this seminar. So I, in fact, thank each one of you from the core of my heart for making this session very lively and educative. It will go a long way now for us to start working closely with our industry leaders so that we can start generating the apprenticeship numbers in a big way. And IPSC and its complete team is dedicated to make the apprenticeship program move at a faster speed. I would call it at a Shatabdi speed, a Rajdhani speed of our trains. So that is what I now expect. And we are there standing next to the industry to make this program move forward. And I thank the Varun Tandon and his team, all the IPSC staff, for organizing a wonderful and a lively seminar. And God bless you all. I wish you all once again a very happy Diwali and stay protected and safe from Corona. God bless you all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. Wishes for a very happy and a prosperous Diwali to all of you. And we hope to see you soon for the next series where we're going to help you understand how we can register you, how we can handhold you and get you the apprentices that is there. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you.